Hello and welcome to the Hoop Troop podcast. I am Matt O'Connor, and joining me as they do on all of our shows is my cousin Luke Drobner.
What's up, guys?
And my brother Mike O'Connor.
Hey.
And we're back. The NBA season's back. We let about a week and a half go by, so we've had like about 5 or 6 games. So decent enough sample now where we have some takes, but this episode's going to be a little different. I feel like normally, Luke and I kind of go through and just throw stuff at Michael. We're flipping it. Michael's got some early 2022-2023 NBA season takes for us. Luke and I are going to react to whether or not they're good or bad. We're obviously, we have no idea what's coming. So
how many of them am I going to go, oh!
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest. They're not. I think they're more conversation provoking than anything. I think I had fun with them, and I've been doing this now for a week and a half, maybe more. I think actually pre the start of the season, maybe the first opening night. So things in my notes I'm noticing have kind of changed with how things have gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Like, I think my opening night impressions are definitely different than they are now.
I'm excited to look at the spreadsheet halfway through All-Star break or whatever. Look at the spreadsheet we did, but I have to say I'm pretty excited to just throw all of these random things at you and see what sticks. But
do you have a system like start to finish to build to something, or are you gonna like?
Absolutely not.
No,
yeah, let's just go through as many as we can get through.
All right, let's see what you got.
I have a note. I'll just rattle through them as they go.
Okay, I like it.
Okay. I'll start with my first.
Oh God.
My first one, and I'm just taking them out at the knees right away. Are the Heat just uncool? I feel like people are over them. I am.
I mean, they just don't play like a hot style of basketball, but like they're good. There's no denying that they're good.
I don't know. I am big on Jimmy Butler. It's good to see him playing. I think the biggest issue is that he's not really a shooter. I can kind of say that he's a scorer, and then Kyle Lowry hasn't been good this year. I just think they're a little old. It might take them some time to get into a rhythm, but he have not looked great to start the year.
But not even that. I don't even think they have even when they're kind of ugly or they're not that exciting to watch. They have the Heat culture and the Heat mentality, and everyone's obsessed with that. I feel like everyone's just over it this year.
I think that they have a few things that they need to monitor. One, Tyler Hero's just general ego and what that does to the locker room, I think it can be a problem. They are hardly playing Duncan Robinson, who's eating so much of their cap. And then, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but losing PJ Tucker does a huge thing for that team. They don't really have a strong power forward anymore. And so when you have an undersized Bam, your defense now looks drastically different.
They don't really have a forward in general.
Right. Unless you consider Jimmy Butler a hybrid, but he's more of a 2-3 hybrid.
He's a wing guard.
The only thing I will say to their credit is if you look at their schedule, it hasn't been they haven't really had an easy game yet. It's been, I'll just kind of rattle these off. They lost to the Bulls, which probably should be a win realistically, but then it's lost to the Celtics. They beat the Raptors. They lost to the Raptors. They beat the Blazers, who they probably should have beaten. They lost to the Warriors, and then they lost to the Kings by 6, which the Kings are bad, but they're not that bad. They are definitely competitive. So
Kings are a trap team. You know what I mean? You can't ease up against them, but you don't need to be perfect to beat them.
But that's my point. I think you can justify all of these losses. So no, Michael, I don't think they're done. But yeah, I mean, I think they have glaring holes. I think there are issues.
I think there's a panic. There's a scenario where it's a panic scenario.
I mean, they can't win as constructed.
No.
If you look at the landscape in the East right now, I mean, the Bucks are undefeated and they're not even full strength and they're undefeated. And they've beaten good teams on their way to getting there. So right now, how are you getting past them? They are, and then the Heat already lost to the Celtics. I know it's only one game, but still, they've lost a game to the Raptors. The Raptors look solid, especially with Siakam playing a superstar.
So you guys are touching a handful of my takes.
I don't mean to steamroll.
No, you're not. I just think they're all kind of related. So far, do you like my Heat take?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their stats, it doesn't look that bad, but they have 5 guys scoring double-digit points, but they really only play 6 guys a game, right?
That's
7 guys a game. There's 7 guys playing more than 20 minutes a game, and everybody else I feel is just kind of in there trying to figure it out. So
right.
I'm not really sure if anybody majors injured on their roster or not, but yeah.
then it's just eye test. Not that fun.
Yeah,
So
it's not the sexy style of basketball. It never has been.
I wrote this before they were 1-5, and De'Aaron Fox might now be hurt, I think, and he's on my fantasy team.
No, he's playing.
He's
playing
back
tonight.
in. Okay, thank God.
Did he get hurt tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, he's only I don't think he's played.
Shite.
He's
Okay.
Only,
I wrote
he's only played 9 minutes tonight. It's the third quarter. So
random order, take 2. Are the Kings a play-in lock? Woof. Maybe not. That was an amendment. Maybe not.
I still think yes. I really do think that they've looked solid, and I think they're not a team that I'm ready to hit the panic button on, especially when you look at some of the teams in the Western Conference who are doing well. Portland 5-1, Spurs 5-2, Utah 5-2. Like those teams are all going to come down. OKC's ahead of them. They're 3-3. They're going to come down. Like realistically, there is room for them to move up, and they're currently sitting, obviously the 13th spot at 1-4, but they can easily move up. I really don't think it's time to panic, and I do think they are locked. I think that team is pretty balanced. Herter's been playing out of his mind. I think way too soon to panic about them. Whereas there are other teams in the West where I think we're getting close to panicking.
I agree. I think the extra year of having Fox, Sabonis, and Barnes on the roster gives them a little more chemistry than they had last year. And I think they have some guys on the roster who can definitely contribute higher than I felt they've had in the past. Keegan Murray, who I know I've kind of slammed a little bit, he's looked good. I think he's been very consistent and obviously a great role player for this Kings team who's trying to compete. Kevin Huerter was doing it for the Hawks, and now he's doing it in Sacramento. And we just talked about Fox getting injured, but Davion Mitchell's played 21 minutes and he scored 18 points on 9 shots. So if you can continue to play excellent, and step up when he's needed, then I really don't see them having huge issues. And I think they're a pretty deep team. I don't think they necessarily have the best depth, but I feel like they have a lot of guys on their roster who I could see playing 10 minutes a game.
And they have a good coach. But then the problem I have with them is starting 1-4. I'm looking at everyone who's above them in the standings, and San Antonio will fall.
Yes.
But other than that, and maybe OKC.
OKC definitely will.
And then other than that, I think it's really hard to break the play.
Utah will definitely fall because Utah will sell.
I'm sorry, I missed Utah.
Utah started 4-0, right?
There's at least 3 teams that I think are going to drop.
Utah, San Antonio, and OKC.
Right, which is enough for them to make the play-in. Because then there's 4 teams below them. They'd be 11.
So they'd be in.
Or no, they would be right. So they'd be 10. They would get.
I also want to know
about the Lakers.
Well, Jesus. That's
Lakers
a whole other issue.
I have good Lakers takes too.
I do want to point out though, because before we leave the Kings, same exact thing with the Heat, and the reason I'm not quite panicking. And granted, they have different aspirations. Like the Heat obviously want to win a championship. The Kings simply just want to make the playoffs. They've lost to the Trailblazers by 7, so solid loss. Clippers by 2, solid loss. Warriors by 5, solid loss. And then Grizzlies by 15. And then they beat the Heat. And they're playing the Hornets now. We'll see if they end up winning. But all good losses. I really don't think that there's anything to be afraid of yet. When they start blowing some bad games and really string together some poor play, fine. Then I'm worried. But for now, play-in's absolutely still in reach.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And they're good. You're taking into account their strength of schedule so far is important. It's also important. I don't have any Nets takes actually. There's too many that I decided I didn't even go for it. And they're all
fire.
You didn't want to touch the Nets? That's all I want to talk about.
Do you want to know something? Well, then we can do a Nets section, maybe halftime of my takes or whenever. But the Nets situation, their strength of schedule is really tough. They started off pretty tough. So
yeah,
you can maybe panic. Definitely, but they're playing tough teams.
Yes,
also,
and
we touched on the Western Conference things a little bit. Portland Trailblazers at 5-1. How far is this hot streak going to go? I'm not completely sold on Blazers.
Dame is now going to miss 2 weeks too. So you're gonna see if Jeremy Grant, who you just traded a first-round pick to get, can play like he played on the Pistons. But for you now, you're gonna have to see if Nurkic is really back, and you're gonna have to see if Anthony Simons is actually that guy you're investing in him to be.
I'd also like to see Shaden Sharp step it up a little bit. I know we keep seeing like highlight dunks and
he's had some crazy dunks already. He literally
just
floats.
Just because he's got some like crazy jumping athleticism doesn't necessarily mean he's a great player. So
fair.
So here's my Blazers Lillard take then. I have a Halliburton take too, which could have come off of the Kings. I'll wait.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get to the Pacers.
I'm all over this just to bring you into my brain. This is why I wanted this pod, just so everyone, the listeners, can get into how my brain is. Synapses are a little random. I'll read it as written because I feel like that's the most raw.
For Portland? Okay.
Why is Lillard still a Blazer? Maybe affected by the first 2 weeks. Why are the Knicks not sending 5 picks for Lillard? Better yet, why aren't the Raptors kicking the tires?
God, no. So the Knicks should never do that. I'd rather die.
Why I use the Knicks and I use the Raptors, but the
Raptors would make sense.
Why are teams not knocking on the door? I agree with Luke. What is the ceiling on this team? I know
I think that's the point. They are not winning a championship as constructed. They're not. They're kind of in that Heat category where like they're good. And like I don't think they're any given night, like especially when they're full strength, that they're like easy to get by. But like no, at the end of the day, am I that afraid that one of these top tier Western Conference teams is not going to be able to get by them? They absolutely are. Like this team's just not that deep or like proven really. Like you have a lot of guys who are like solid basketball players, but like what have they really accomplished?
Talking about their depth a little bit, it seems like they're playing like 9 guys a game, 10 guys a game. There are 2 guys who basically just don't play on their roster or get garbage time minutes. But I think the key difference between the Heat and the Blazers is that the Blazers have a formidable scorer, 3-level scorer, right? Like name a spot on the floor Damian Lillard can't beat you at. And I just like when the game's on the line, I would definitely trust Damian Lillard to hit a big shot more than I would trust Jimmy Butler.
I think the difference in style is definitely a factor. Like I think the Heat are more of like a defense first, more of like a team system game where like you're not really relying on one guy to really carry you. Whereas like that's kind of what Portland is designed to do. And you have like player A, if he can't get it done, we're going to try player B, and then like so and so down the ladder. Whereas like I feel like the Heat just have like a literal script of like, all right, play number 1 is going to be for this guy, then play number 2 is going to be this for this guy. Like it's just constantly cycling through. Like
I'm also excited to kind of see Chauncey Billups coach this team this year because last year was kind of a toss away year with Dame being injured. And I kind of consider this year to be Chauncey Billups' first year. And we kind of see it with some of these other player coaches like Willie Green and Steve Nash. They like, it seems like their teams early on always have success. And I'd like to see how Chauncey Billups could help. I mean, like best case scenario, you uncover like a Ty Lue type guy who ends up being a really great X's and O's coach, but at least Chauncey Billups can kind of modernize or innovate the offense. And obviously defense wins games. So we'll see how far they can get in the playoffs with Nurkic holding it down back there. Obviously Jeremy Grant's a proven defender.
I just think, and again, and I don't want to downplay what they've done because they've also beaten some good teams. I do just think like their season is realistically progressing the same way the last few years have with them, where like they make the playoffs, they're pretty good, but they can't get there. And so, depending on how the rest of it goes, like obviously, they've beaten teams like the Suns, the Nuggets and whatnot to get to this point, 5-1. But let's say they're like 10 games over 500 at the end of the year, which would be great. But like, they're still not, like, I still don't think they're a finals threat. And then at the end of the year, what do you do again? You're going to be having the same conversations. Is it time to trade Dame? Is it time to start over? Like, I don't know. If we hit the deadline and they're really not showing any real promise of winning, I could see them selling off.
It's also interesting because like, is this a year that you really want to tank? Who do you want to pair with Shaden Sharp? What is your plan for Shaden Sharp, I guess? And like you said, it's probably better to make a decision and commit to it early before it's too late, especially if you could grab a guy like Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson who might make the difference for Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There are like, and I guess a lot of the tanking teams are now already like, they have winning records, so maybe it's not too late to kind of turn around. But like, yeah, you figure that's something you want to start from the get-go.
You think that you could trade Damian Lillard for the number 1 overall pick this year?
No,
Let's say like the Pelicans got the number 1 overall pick this year.
no,
I
couldn't,
don't think anyone's trading that.
because you would pair Zion with Victor Wembanyama.
Why
and
not?
They would be good forever.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
You would
You
not.
could have Damian Lillard. You could have CJ Dame, Brandon Ingram.
No, I don't
And-
even care.
And by the way, that number 1 overall pick might be the Lakers pick. So you keep your own pick. You draft someone who could positionally fill a gap for you.
Nope, pass. I'm
No.
taking Victor 100%.
This is an interesting Portland conversation because I feel like they've made their decision. Like they're sticking with.
They are so far. We'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
months of basketball can easily change
But
minds.
I feel like if deadline comes along and they are 5 to 10 games above 500, they're not going to sell. They're not going to
Probably not. But if they're like 500 or below 500, what do you think?
I mean, think about the
Uh-huh.
business impact. How much more money do they make just by making the playoffs, or how much more money do they make by making the second round or something like that, right?
Yes, that's obviously part of it. But at the same time, you're by not trading Dame at this juncture in his career,
Sure.
you're only hurting the return you're going to get down the line when you do decide to trade him. And
What's
so
the
unless
difference
you're-
in value at the deadline versus the offseason?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know
Yeah.
what those trade packages would look like, but I think the longer you wait, we've been saying this for a few years now. Like, I think if you traded him 2 years ago, you would have gotten an absolute crazy haul, much bigger than you would have gotten right now, much bigger than you're going to get in the offseason. So I don't know.
Also,
Look at
like,
it.
how valuable, let's say you make the playoffs and you don't really care how far you go in the playoffs. How valuable is playing shooting sharp 28 minutes a night in the playoffs going forward?
I mean, it's not valuable. Obviously, that's good experience, but at the same time, like, how often are you going to be back there? Because the longer you hang on to Dame, like, he's only going to age, and like that team is probably going to progressively get worse. Realistically, that's the track they're on.
Fair
But
enough.
we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic, but that's my outlook on them.
Okay.
All right,
Ready for the next
Michael,
one, Mike?
what's our next take? Now that we've gotten Portland out of the way.
I'll stay west. So it's interesting. You're pessimistic and that the Blazers should probably just blow it up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
They were not part of the take that I'm about to say, and then I have 2 more west takes after this. But why are they not? If the timeline is now, or they should just blow it up, why are they not just mortgaging their future on a Kevin Durant trade? Why are they not doing
They
that?
don't-
The real one is
Maybe they can't get it done.
here's the real take. Should the Pelicans just do an Ingram and picks for Kevin and or at least kick the tires? Because Pelicans are really good. Sometimes I don't think Kevin Durant is the biggest issue in Brooklyn, and
He's
maybe
not.
in a better system where he has someone like Zion next to him, it won't be as mental of a situation.
I think
I think
the issue is that the Nets, there's really no return that will make the Nets happy.
Well,
So there's no trade that's ever going to get done.
why not
Is the
get
problem.
why not get your future back? I think the answer would maybe I don't know enough about being a GM. Obviously, I don't.
No,
But-
I mean, I think generally I agree with you. Like when we were going through the whole procedure over the summer, it was like, yeah, get as many picks as you can get. And if you can get another good young player too, absolutely. Because you're still going to have other people on your team. Like Ben Simmons is still going to be sitting there, which like, I know that's a whole other conversation, but like he is young. He's shown flashes in the past, not this season, good Lord. But like, you never know.
I feel Ben Simmons has progressively gotten worse.
Yeah,
It's
his
great to see
confidence
him
is
back on the
shattered.
court. Obviously, it's great he's back on the court, but I still don't think he's ever going to be the Ben Simmons he was his rookie year or sophomore season when he was dunking on people,
No,
dishing out assists and running.
but
the
him
floor.
on a bad Brooklyn team that's getting no media coverage after they've now traded Kyrie and Durant, like no one would be paying attention to him. He could do whatever he wants. He could miss as
Yeah.
many free throws as he wanted. No one would be talking about him. So that's like the best situation for him to get confidence.
I also my biggest concern with that trade is like culturally. I understand, maybe you make Durant happy because he's here with Zion, he's here with CJ.
Mhm.
They've got role players, they've got depth, but that's still like in that locker room.
Yeah,
Brandon Ingram's like a very quiet leader, I guess, and CJ McCollum is kind of the voice and the spirit of the team. And Zion's still a young player. I don't think it would benefit Zion to bring in Kevin Durant. So what type of culture shift are you going to see in New Orleans? I think right now they have a really great mentality. They have like a grit and a grind. They have a chip on their shoulder type thing. And I think what they've built is really, really solid. And I don't see any reason for them to break it up unless it's like we're bringing in a role player or, we're upgrading a position or something like that. But
so I think the Pelicans are in a category of teams that it's weird because I think the NBA is going that way of teams that you don't necessarily need. I mean, Zion is a star, I guess.
Absolutely.
He needs to work. He needs to be perennially a star.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries are obviously a problem.
But a team like the Grizzlies too, you have one. It's not a mega team. You have one with like a really good basketball players next to them. Like not amazing, but really solid.
Brandon Ingram was an all-star.
Brandon Ingram's an all-star. CJ McCollum's an all-sar. And Zion Williamson could potentially be an MVP candidate.
Has CJ ever made an all-star team? I don't think he has. But you're right. He's like in that like
one.
But the point is, I think those models don't necessitate a Durant. It's like they're not in the right life cycle. They're not in the same life cycle stage as a team that would need him. Like
CJ McCollum. By the way, CJ McCollum has never made an all-star game.
No. Yeah, that's what I thought. He's always been like close. He puts that. I mean, on those Portland teams, he was very much a Robin to Batman. But
I mean, never made an all-star game, but averaging like 22, 23 a game for nearly 5 years.
Yeah. No, he's a great player. There's no question. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it probably would help them win. Like I think putting Durant and Zion and whoever is left after that trade on the team together, like, yes, that team would be awesome. But I just don't think that would ever happen. So
it's on paper they look really good, but I think as we've come to see that just because you're good on paper doesn't mean you're necessarily good in real life. Like the Brooklyn Nets on paper are like realistically the best team in the NBA. If I pick the Brooklyn Nets in 2K, you'd be fuming mad. You'd be like, you can't use them. They're too good. Right. But in real life, it's like Kyrie's insane and I don't want to play with him. And Kevin Durant doesn't want to be here. Why would I want to be here? Ben Simmons doesn't even want to shoot layups. Right. Like Andre Drummond said it last year. It's like no one wants to be here. And that's the issue. And
it's crazy. It's crazy that it's sustained into I know you didn't have a Brooklyn Nets take, but this is now turning into it.
No, but
it's crazy that has now followed them into this season. It's wild. I mean, I was listening to Brian Windhorst's podcast, The Hoop Collective, and he was talking about how he was talking to like a scout who was at one of the games or at like Nets games. And apparently when Ben Simmons fouls out, he like kind of seems excited that he like doesn't have to be in the game anymore. Like there's like a sense of relief when he's done instead of normally I feel like you foul out, you're frustrated and whatever. He's always like a little relieved. So between that, Kyrie doing this just absolute firestorm of bad PR and like, I'll leave it at that. It's definitely worse than that. But like all of that distraction, not to mention they've only won one game and have not looked great on the court. Their defense is horrific. I don't know. Like it's hard for me to see them turning this around. Like even if they do start clicking a little more, like what's their ceiling? Are they winning a championship? No, because none of them like each other. And they're all like emotionally detached from the team. There's no cohesion or drive. And that's why I think, to your credit of what you said in your take about trading for him, like Durant, I don't think it's Durant's fault. I think he's just surrounded by a bad situation.
Man,
you can't win like this.
I think he's a weirdo.
I think the Nets, if you want my take, I think the Nets should capitalize now before it's too late of Kyrie being crazy and getting peppered with interviews and things.
I really
trade him.
I really think the teams that are trying to make offers for Durant are teams that guys with like, okay, we have LeBron and realistically we have 1 year we have a 1 year window. Those are the teams that are making trades for Kevin Durant. But if I'm the Grizzlies, why would I ever window? If I trade for Kevin Durant, I'm shortening my window.
He's under contract for 4 years, but yes, I do agree.
I don't care if he's under contract for 4 years. That's a 4 year window. If I'm the Pelicans and I have Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, realistically, my window is like 10.
Yeah,
you're right. So,
but that's why I think if you're the Nets, you maximize your window with KD by trading Kyrie. You get one of those distractions out of the locker room, and you would get a lot back for him. And he's on a max deal, so like you would be able to fill up your roster with more players that would help you.
You're going to get.
I think Kyrie's trade value has gone down. Sorry,
fine. But you're going to tell me you wouldn't get 2 Lakers picks?
I think the only offer out there is maybe a Lakers pick and buying out Russ, and that's it.
Maybe.
We just talked about the Heat. I think the Heat would absolutely be interested.
But I think to your point, I guess they'll trade Duncan Robinson, and a pick.
But in actuality, what's the likelihood that Kyrie is now sticking around the Nets after the season because he's a free agent after this year? So I think you almost need to trade him. I don't think he's going to be a Net after the season. I think he will be in the league next year. It's not like I don't think he is controversial, but I don't think he's controversial enough to a point that he's not going to be on a team.
His contract will not be anywhere close to what he wants. He's going to be a Dennis Schroeder. He's going to be like Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder was like, pay me $20 million.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, no. And then he was out of the league. And now he's back on the Lakers for a min. That's what's going to happen to Kyrie.
Except he's
really
much
good.
Better than him. Yeah.
But he's way more difficult than Schroeder. Schroeder was just like, I want to get paid.
He's going to end up making like $30 million a year and like have to live with that.
He's going to end up making like 15.
We'll see. I don't know. But anyway, my point being, the Nets need to remove those distractions. And I think that's how you turn around. Because they're going to get, Seth Curry's been hurt. Joe Harris has been hurt and coming back. Like they've had guys who are solid role players that I think most of these contending teams would like to have. They just don't have that leadership in the locker room.
And they can't play defense. You are not getting by Boston, Milwaukee,
no.
Maybe the Sixers, but probably not.
It's also tough when Nick Claxton is your only big man. They don't have another big man. They've been playing Ben Simmons at center, which theoretically could work, but no.
So they just traded a first round pick for Royce O'Neal. Why would they then go ahead and trade away their role players? They're in a weird situation.
No, I don't think you trade away your role players.
I'm kind of happy that the Knicks didn't sign Kyrie and KD, but
it was a blessing in disguise. It hurt at the time, but if all this was happening in MSG, it would be a disaster. And
it'd already be gone.
A nightmare. Yeah,
it'd already be gone.
Yes, exactly. This wouldn't have been dragged out like this. But anyway, Michael, back to your takes. I didn't mean to derail us like that with the Nets.
No, but the Nets is the most important thing that's going on. Like my next take isn't even close to as interesting as that, but it's interesting to me. Speaking of window, we were talking about the Nets window. Are the Nuggets in a championship window?
Absolutely.
That seems like an obvious question. I have a couple. There's a couple layers to this question. How long is it? Is there a ceiling with MPJ and or Jamal? Yes. I think this team still has a ceiling, and I don't think they can get past.
I think they can win the championship this season. I think this team is that good.
Such a complicated question. They're definitely going to be a contender for a long time. Whether or not they're a true contender or not will depend on some of the role players. I think as the season goes on, we're going to see Murray get better and better and better. He had like 20 points last night, 2 nights ago, something like that, against the Lakers. Right. He had like 20 points. Didn't shoot efficiently, but obviously scoring 20 points is a huge confidence boost when you're coming back from not playing for a long time. Michael Porter Jr. still needs to play defense. I think Aaron Gordon is so inconsistent at times, it hurts. But I think if they're fully healthy and they all bring their A game, they could easily beat any team in the league.
I agree. And this is now, I just wanted to look it up because I wasn't entirely sure. Jokic is only 27. So turning 28, I think, during the season.
It's also important to remember that Jokic's game is not athleticism based. So you have to think that his fade into aging will be very slight.
Right. And so you have the reigning 2-time MVP. You have guys who have shown not even just flashes, but Jamal Murray has been a bona fide star. Michael Porter Jr. has been great offensively. So you got to see how he looks. Aaron Gordon, I feel like everyone just sleeps on. He's the 4th option on that team, but he's very solid. And I think especially in that system, he's solid. Then you have the Bruce Browns of the world, the KCPs. That team is loaded with players that you want around Jokic. I think it's so well constructed, and I think they are a move or two away. They're a move or two away at the deadline. I don't think
they need to make any moves. I just think they all need to if Michael Porter Jr. shows up and plays the best game of basketball he plays, and Jamal Murray and Jokic and Aaron Gordon, and their role players play well, they play consistently, they're easily the best team in the NBA. Without a doubt, they have an MVP candidate. They have 2 or 3 guys who could be all-stars after that. It's just, again, what Denver Nuggets are you going to get? right? Is it going to be the A game Denver Nuggets, or is it going to be like we don't really want to be here? And
Then
Michael Porter
doesn't
Jr.
that-
gets 2 for 13. You know,
Then doesn't that answer the question? Like that's a ceiling to me. If you have to ask that question,
But you guys think that. Personally, I don't. I think right now we're saying that because we're only a few games into the season when, yes, they're only a game over 500. But when you look at them 6 months from now, when we're heading into the playoffs, like it's going to be such a different feel. And I think we're really jumping to conclusions when
I
that's
really need
unfair
to see,
to the Nuggets.
before I can say they're a true contender. I really need to see how consistent Jamal Murray can be,
Yeah.
how efficient he can be. And again, like Michael Porter Jr. is what 6'10". It's really great that he shoots threes. It's really great that he has playmaking skills. But both him and Aaron Gordon, it comes down to their defense. And even then, like sometimes I feel like Aaron Gordon takes shots, and I'm like, really, should he be taking those shots? Right. So I really like. They again, they have to play their best game in a 7-game series. I really think they could beat anybody in a 7-game series. But let's say like the Warriors are like, okay, it's time to go win a championship. They're not going to beat the Warriors in championship mode. They're not going to beat the Clippers in championship mode, right?
Well,
I'm over
that's
the Clippers. I don't have a take, but I'm over.
that's one thing.
I'm not over the
I
Clippers.
almost thought we were certainly going to talk about that. My God,
I
we're not
think
going to talk about the
the problem
Clippers.
with my takes, I went more with things that were interesting to me, and I decided that like
Kawhi having only played in 2 games after
I'm-
a year and a half off.
I like watching
Come
basketball.
back slowly.
He's missed 4 straight games. That's not coming back slowly. That means he's injured.
I'm pretty sure they sent him home to LA.
But yes, but that's my point. That's not like you're coming back slowly. What Jamal Murray's doing is coming back slowly. Like he is flat out hurt.
Yeah.
And no one's talking about it because of the Lakers struggling in the same city.
I don't know if he's actually hurt. This has always been a Kawhi thing where he likes to take this time.
This is this is not just like a game here or there, 2 games here or there, 4 straight games at the beginning of the season. What are we doing? We can't excuse that. This is a problem.
Yeah, or you can excuse it if he's actually, he might be dealing with something that never going to go away, and his career is over.
But that's my point. I mean, I think we all were so high on them before the season because we were expecting them to actually play. And like I knew obviously there was going to be load management. He was going to be slow to get back. I didn't see this coming, and I didn't see them. I mean, they only have 2 wins. They're 2-4. And like, I don't know. Even when he comes back, he's still going to be doing the whole load management thing. They're not going to have any continuity. I mean, they've lost 4 straight games.
Yeah,
And they play tonight against the Rockets, so we'll see how that goes.
I
But
think
like they beat the Lakers, they beat the Kings, then they lost to the Suns, they lost to the Thunder twice, they lost to the Pelicans. Now they play the Rockets. Like their schedule hasn't been that hard.
I think this is up there, like top 3 panic teams.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they should be panicking about what direction they're going in because it's
I
not.
think- I think the loss to the Thunder was bad, obviously, but no Paul George,
Which
no Kawhi, no John Wall. Oh, John Wall did play. I mean, I just obviously their 2 best players weren't in, but a 14-point loss is unexcusable, especially when your roster's like decently talented against a team that's like not trying to be good at all.
Right.
And they lost to the Thunder twice in a row. They played back to back.
The Suns loss is fine, the Pelicans loss is fine. But like
They played the Pelicans yesterday?
they played the Pelicans yesterday and got blown out.
Yeah, but with Zion back, Pelicans are a really good team.
Yeah. I mean, Zion like barely played in the 4th quarter though. They were up to like 25.
Yeah.
I just think like it's up.
I'm not in panic mode yet. I think if we hit the 25 game mark and Kawhi's played less than 10 games, I hit the panic button.
All right. I think
That's fair.
I think I mean, maybe I am jumping to conclusions, but look, 4 straight games sitting out, which will be tonight. Like, that's horrible.
Obviously, it's the first time he's played in a game situation in a long time. I'm sure he's dealing with some uncomfort. I'm sure he's dealing with something, right? And I don't know. I thought part of the reason why he went to the Clippers was because he wanted this type of medical staff who would allow him the time for him to be comfortable both mentally and physically.
You are far nicer than I am, but we'll see, I guess. I'll wait for game 25 because then I'll be waiting there to say I told you so.
It's about the killer instinct. If you can come back and just be like, fine, I'll drop 20 tonight, I'm not worried. But if it's like, okay, he continues to struggle offensively through the first 15 games he plays, then I might start to worry.
All right.
I like the more measured feeling about them because
I think it's worrisome.
and again, contributes to the idea that the Nuggets could take anyone at this point. But okay, one last West take. Then I just have an MVP take. And then that's pretty much it. And then I have like honorable mentions that I'll mention quickly.
Okay. It's also weird to like here we are talking about the Nuggets a little bit. I want to touch on it one more time. It's like we see the Miami Heat go to the finals in the bubble, or like the Celtics make it out the East last year. With under the right circumstances, the Nuggets are easily in the championship, right? Like a Chris Middleton injury puts the Celtics in the championship. If Chris Middleton was back, the Bucks win that series against the Celtics, right?
Yes.
This isn't a take I had, but I think they could beat the Warriors. I have no doubt of that.
Yeah,
I think it could too. I think it really comes down to Jokic. They played last year in the playoffs, and Jokic really struggled. And I think it was because Jokic was the only one out there.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that team was very much weakened. So, and the Warriors were on the championship.
No depth, no Jamal Murray. So we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah, I'm rooting now, and I forget what I put in the spreadsheet, so who cares? But Bucks Nuggets would just be the dream.
It'd be awesome.
Jokic would just be.
It's also good for basketball. 2 Euro stars leading teams to it.
Yeah.
I mean, the finals. I don't think that's ever happened where the two teams have been led by foreign players.
I wonder what the viewership would be like on the international stars playing like that.
Definitely weird.
Weird. This is one of my honorable mention takes, and don't really want to spend too much time on it because I have a Lakers one.
Okay.
But I think if Crowder goes to the Bucks, I think that'd be a good move. I think that the Bucks should really, really take that seriously.
The Bucks should definitely take that seriously. I think if you can grab up like a veteran big forward like that, I think it's super valuable. You see it. You saw it when the Bucks won the championship. They picked up PJ Tucker at the deadline. It made a huge difference. They won the championship because of it, right? He just adds a little wrinkle to your game. He gives you an extra lineup. He guards the other team's best player, things like that. So,
and just a smidge tougher than Grayson Allen. If you're not
way tougher,
tripping people.
And also, I think an upgrade over Jordan Nwora, who they play like the same game. It's just like one's a veteran and one's just starting out.
Yeah.
So,
all right, my Lakers take.
Okay.
Are the Lakers the worst team in the West? The league?
No.
Okay.
No,
and then
they're bad. They're oh my God. I'm like getting angry just thinking about their roster. But like they can't shoot. We just cut out a little bit. What you got?
This is just my last layered part of the question. Conspiracy theory. Do the Lakers want LeBron to demand a trade? I think they do.
Well, LeBron can't get traded this year.
Yeah,
based on his contract. So
I think
that's not happening anyway. But
he can after this year.
I think the roster Pelinka has given them is so bad it almost seems spiteful of LeBron. Like it seems like he was mad about the whole LeBron obviously pushed for the Westbrook trade. He's mad about it, and they were just like, "Screw you! Here's a bunch of shit to go play with, and like you're going to be bad."
Why would he sign the extension?
That's what I don't understand. I really don't understand it. And I get that he's happy in LA and whatever, but like, what are you doing there? Like, you're really just wasting time.
I think we talked about it a little bit, how Anthony Davis and LeBron James are the only two Lakers on contract after this year. But the big thing is that they eat up like 70% of the cap.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, their roster is really, really tough. It would be good to see Dennis Schroeder get back because I think point guard's definitely a positional need for them. I think if Kendrick Nunn can get more consistent, obviously he missed a whole year of basketball last year, but out of everybody I've seen play on the Lakers roster, I feel the most confident about Kendrick Nunn after LeBron. And every time AD gets bumped or like goes up for a dunk or something like that, I feel like he comes down, he's like grabbing his back or something like that. I don't know if he's going to be able to play a full season. And what I mean, like a full season, I mean, like he plays like 71, 75 games, something like that. Right. So,
but that's okay. In a vacuum, that's okay.
Yeah, of course. But, I'd like to see them get back fully healthy. Obviously, they also have Thomas Bryant on the roster who might help AD stay a little bit more healthy and bump AD down to forward rather than center. But I mean, they really don't have centers. It's really terrible.
It's so bad.
I really, really think they need to make a trade, whether it's to the Hornets to pick up some shooting or it's to the Pacers to pick up Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, because they do need a center and they do need shooting. And obviously Russell Westbrook isn't going to get it done. And if teams are willing to take Russell Westbrook for those two picks, you shouldn't hesitate.
As a team, they are shooting 26.6% from three. 26.6. That is horrible. They have Matt Ryan shooting 54.5% from three on 2.8 attempts a game. Then their next highest, Austin Reeves, 47.1 on 2.8 attempts. The next highest is below 30.
I also think, like, okay, you have we're looking at their stats right now. We're looking at guys who are shooting poorly. I think like LeBron, Kendrick Nunn, and Troy Brown Jr. can all shoot above 32% with some extra spacing. Because if you really think about it, they're just like, fine, we'll let AD shoot. We'll let Russell Westbrook shoot, right? Like, so they're closing out on certain guys and certain guys only. And they know they can close out hard because they have three guys in the paint ready to help.
Anthony Davis shooting
spacing.
Anthony Davis shooting 18.2% from three.
Yeah,
my God.
I feel like we send an article every day. It's like Anthony Davis shooting 5% on jumpers.
But like, even I just think Beverly 19%. Juan Toscano Anderson 12.5.
Again,
like,
I think Patrick Beverly can be a really great shooter if and only if it's like wide open in the corner.
Yeah, fine.
Draymond Green, he's not really a shooter. He's not out there to score, but like if you leave him open, he's going to hit the shot.
I mean, Lonnie Walker, who was like their big offseason signing, 21.9% from three. What a hot, like, it literally feels like Pelinka. I don't understand how.
Look at Lonnie.
How does Pelinka get a.
Look at Lonnie Walker's stats in San Antonio. He was never a three-point shooter.
No. But again, what were they thinking? I understand that they had limited money to work with this offseason, but like, it's awful. And like, sure, they're like, oh, Kendrick Nunn will be back. He's shooting 27.3% from three. Like,
isn't it inevitable? We've watched enough of this, and like for years we've been watching it. They know the Buddy Hield Miles Turner trade is just there. It's going to be there. So like they're just waiting.
But how long can you wait? You're 1-5.
Yeah, you need to make a change, and I think you need to make a change only because it's a continuity thing. Like you want to keep whatever roster you're bringing into the playoffs is the roster you need to have for the longest stretch. And if it's like, okay, we make the trade at the trade deadline, then like only 1/3 of the season will be with the roster you're taking into the playoffs, and I just don't think that's reasonable. And even then, it's like I make the trade at the deadline, and now we have to win, and there's 30 games left in the year. And we have to win 22 of them. You're not going to do that with a team you just created.
No. But that, I mean, I just think realistically, if they're going to do something, it's the same way we were talking about the tanking teams. Like, if they're going to do something, like they obviously want to be tanking early on. If a team like the Lakers wants to go win a championship, like you got to do it now.
So look how valuable the Lakers picks are.
Yes.
Oh my God. The Pacers or the Hornets, like I'm dying to get those picks.
Except I think the Lakers are trying to play a game of chicken where some team will say, fine, we'll do it for one pick. And I don't know that you're going to get it. Like, I don't know that you're going to have that go down.
It's the same thing with Danny Ainge. It's like Danny Ainge just puts out a report, like Utah Jazz report is like.
Well, I mean, that's also, I mean, I think he didn't trade Bogdanovich over there out of spite. Like, I think he just didn't want to help the Lakers and send him, because think about it. He would have gotten a first-round pick for Bogdanovich if he sent him to the Lakers, but instead he traded him to the Pistons for nothing. Like literally nothing. Kelly Olynyk is the only player still on the roster, and no other picks were traded. Like that's nothing.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I think the Lakers could probably squeeze out a championship with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, LeBron and AD.
Your bench is still ass. Your bench is still terrible. So like you would need to have like other. You have to bring in Melo. You'd have to bring in other guys who are like sitting there waiting. Melo on. You would have to. You would need bench scoring. You would have no choice. You would have to bring in other guys like that.
Their bench is ass right now, but Thomas Bryant comes back, Dennis Schroeder comes back, you have Buddy Hield, and you have Miles Turner. That's four players.
Miles Turner's starting. If they trade for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, they're both starting.
Yeah, of course. But again, it helps their depth. Like right now, Dennis Schroeder would probably start, right? Like Thomas Bryant would probably start right now. But if you
might start Pat Bev though.
I would start if they make the Buddy Hield Miles Turner trade. I think the starting lineup is Pat Bev, Buddy Hield, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Miles Turner.
Yes, absolutely. And then you have Schroeder trying to lead the second unit and provide scoring off the bench.
Yeah, and I think you can do that with guys like Lonnie Walker. I think you can do that with guys like, like I don't think Austin Reeves is necessarily bad. I just don't think I think they're trying way too hard to use him.
Starting him is awful, right? So like they need to make those adjustments. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of a disaster.
And then let's be real. You trade for those two Pacers guys. You sign Kyrie next year. You're kind of in a window. Like at this point, if you decided like fuck it, we have LeBron for 3 years and then we're gonna suck for a decade.
Yeah,
like,
but then you don't even have your picks when you suck. That's kind of the flip. That's the hard part of trading these picks. It's not like they're current picks. They're your future ones when you suck.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's where we are. But
yeah.
My last, this is it. Can Tatum be the MVP?
Yes, absolutely.
But right now there's Ja, Luka, Giannis.
Ja is too bad defensively, and I think that gives Tatum an edge. I think Giannis, as of today, Giannis and Luka are definitely the front runners. Like, and Giannis, I mean, the way he's been playing on both sides of the ball, like especially without their second best player, has been incredible. Again, small sample size, it's been 5 games, but like he's been out of his mind. Luka's been putting up like 40, 10, and 10 this week. Like
Luka's averaging
close.
Luka is averaging 37, 9.5, and 9 per game with 2 steals.
Yeah.
And he's shooting 23% from 3, but 50% from the field, and his effective field goal percentage is 54%. So it's not like he's not efficient. It's just
I was playing against him in fantasy this week, and it was unpleasant to say the least.
He shoots a lot of threes. I think he's just jacking them up because I think people know he'll hit them if they don't guard him.
Yeah,
and then it opens up a lot of his driving lanes. So,
but yes, so I do think Tatum though is in that conversation of people who are going to be in the MVP conversation this year. Like, absolutely,
he's too low right now. They said I saw like a list where he's like 7th, and I don't agree with that.
Well, yeah, I don't agree with that either. Like, I think he's realistically right up there. I think you have to factor in the team's record, which right now they're playing very well. They're 4-2. I think Donovan Mitchell isn't playing out of his mind, but Garland's going to come back and those numbers are going to go down. So I think that does open a window for Tatum. I think realistically in the East, there's no one else like Harden's been playing great, but they're losing. I'm just like generally looking at right, but I'm just
Harden cancel each other out from the MVP race.
Kind of, I think so. But then if you look in the West, I think Devin Booker's been playing out of his mind. The best he's ever played. Not better than Tatum, though, realistically. Similar, but not better. I think then Dame obviously was playing okay, but not enough. Like, then you move down the list here, and there's really no one that jumps off. Jokic, I guess, is always going to be there.
The recipe for winning MVP is you're the best player on a championship level team, which obviously Jason Tatum is the best player on the Celtics. And if the Celtics look really good heading into the playoffs, he could definitely be in the MVP race. I don't think he'll ever win an MVP. And I think that's because there's a lot of other talent. And I also just don't think he's an MVP level player. I think he's 100% going to be first team all NBA 3-4 times in his career, which is like outstanding, right? Like, he's going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done, but MVP, I'm just not so sure.
I think he could, and maybe it is this year. He needs to really, I think he needs to expand his facilitating a bit, which is that was the indictment he had in the finals. And I mean, we've seen him be a little better with it. Again, small sample size to start the season. But like, I think if he continues that trend and the team continues to win, like, I think absolutely, there's no doubt he's going to be in the mix.
I just don't think he's a dominant player. When you think about Giannis, like, Giannis is going to dunk on you. He's going to scream in your face. He's going to control the whole game, start from tip off to the final whistle, right?
I don't know. Tatum has kind of done that in that opening night game. And granted, it was against the Sixers, who haven't been great to start, but like, the Sixers are still a very good team. Tatum dominated that game.
Tatum shoots it. If Giannis wanted to win the game, he would win the game. It doesn't matter. Giannis. In his head, Giannis can go, I'm going to score 50 points tonight, and Giannis will score 50 points tonight. I think Tatum in his head will be like, I'm going to score 50 points tonight. I'm going to wear this Kobe Bryant sleeve to the game.
Yeah, that was tough.
Right. So I agree that Jason Tatum is super confident and he's kind of got that swagger of an MVP, but he just doesn't dominate the game the way that an MVP will. Right. Every facet of the game needs to be controlled by Jason Tatum, and it won't be. It's not like a Luka Doncic. Like, Luka will go for 45, 15, and 15. Tatum will never do that.
I also, not that it's going to happen, but I'm just saying, in the parallel universe where it does happen, and the Lakers make a trade and they turn their season around after starting 0-5, and then they go off and like make the playoffs, and let's say LeBron plays a full season, LeBron is also averaging like 38 and 8. If they were to turn around, the narrative's there. But
LeBron is averaging 26, 9, and 7.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, something like that. But so I'm just throwing it out there as like you never know. And narrative is a huge part of the MVP award, but I think that's someone who could end up in the mix.
Right now, it's Giannis or Luka, and I think that one's really close.
Then I think it drops off a bit, and then you have like the Jokic's, the Jaws, the Tatums, that group of people.
I think there's one stat that pretty much determines the MVP, and it's player efficiency rating.
Yeah.
So if you can control the game offensively, even if you're taking a lot of bad shots, you can win MVP. You know, if you score 32 points a night and, you know, you have 8 rebounds and 8 assists, you're definitely an MVP candidate.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
I don't think Ja dominates the game defensively. Like, he's not going to grab 10 rebounds whenever he wants, but he definitely scores a lot. He definitely creates a lot of the Grizzlies offense, but I don't think realistically he'll make the conversation. I thought it was ridiculous. It was 4 games in, they were like MVP ladder. And I was like, okay, this is like a media scam, advertising.
Kinda, yeah.
So.
Wow. Well, those were my takes. Besides just saying that C.D. Osman, is he the best, your favorite locker room bench presence?
Yes, he's my favorite bench player
by a mile, and I think he dethrones Theo Pinson for sure.
Every time you guys are like Jetty Osman something, I send that photo of him working out with LeBron, Kawhi, and KD. I'm like, this is what I mean. Like,
and the other reason, attitude's really good. Like, clearly loves his teammates, and then he's actually effective when he plays.
Yes, so, he's a good shooter.
So anyway, that's the end of mine. I'm at 4%, and my laptop's going to die any second. I don't know where my charger is. That's why I needed to sneak my
got it
CD Chetty Osman take in.
Chetty.
All right. Well, since you're about to die out on us, I guess we can wrap this puppy up.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
fun. I like this format.
Back. Yeah, I'm glad. And now hopefully next week we'll have like a good 10 game or so sample, which I feel like is definitely enough to really not just like have like an estimated guess. Like, that's enough where we can say, all right, team's good, team's bad, whatever. So same time next week, fellas. We're coming in hot with some real data, but I liked your takes, Michael. And I think there is substance to some of them.
We should all be writing down takes to bring here.
Yeah. It's actually really fun. I've just, and especially with fantasy, you're watching it more often and just, you know.
You have to stay so connected with the fantasy.
Yeah.
You have to.
Especially because there's no set my lineup button, so I actually have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, fellas, we'll wrap this up before Michael dips out. Thank you all for tuning in. This is the Hoot Troop podcast, and join us next time.